Water. We drink it, we wash with it, we literally watch it fall from the sky. But what if I told you that without a few microscopic, totally invisible rules, every single drop of water on Earth would instantly shatter into a fine mist? Well, welcome to today's Explainer. We are unpacking a genuinely fascinating science lesson that explores molecular bonds and what the source material calls the divine design of water.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with the sticky wonder of water, meet the microscopic magnets, and see water working in nature. From there, we'll look at everyday adhesion and cohesion, do a quick lesson review, and finally, unpack how this curriculum actually ties these physical, scientific laws to concepts of morality, education, and peace.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the sticky wonder of water.
To set the stage, the curriculum actually opens with a quote from the Bible, specifically Job chapter 26, verse 8. He wraps up the waters in his clouds, yet the clouds do not burst under their weight. The lesson uses this vivid imagery to illustrate a really foundational belief in their program, that water was purposely designed to hold together in these remarkable, gravity-defying ways, moving through cycles that basically sustain all life on our planet. And that brings us to our very first major scientific concept. Fundamentally, water is sticky. When water attracts itself, scientists call that cohesion. Think of the prefix co, meaning together. The water molecules just want to hang out together. They strongly cling to one another. But you know, water doesn't just like itself. When it's attracted to other things, like your skin right after a shower or maybe a window pane during a heavy storm, we call that adhesion. Notice how it sounds exactly like adhesive, right? It's just like tape or glue sticking to a surface. So putting them head to head brilliantly illustrates these two foundational forces. Cohesion is simply water sticking to water. Adhesion is water sticking to other materials. And honestly, these two super simple behaviors are the building blocks for almost everything water does on Earth.
Moving right along to Section 2, meet the microscopic magnets.
Have you ever actually stopped to wonder why water doesn't just fall apart into a mist everywhere it goes? Or why a drop of water looks like a solid, perfect little bubble sitting on your kitchen table? What is actually creating all this stickiness? Well, the answer lies right in the shape of the molecule itself. Water is a polar molecule. All that means is its oxygen atom is slightly negative and its hydrogen atoms are slightly positive. Think of them like tiny magnets. Just like the opposite ends of a magnet snap together, the opposite charges of these water molecules pull them aggressively toward each other, forming these sticky things called hydrogen bonds. It is this perfectly balanced, microscopic magnetic dance.
Now, why does any of this matter? It's actually a massive deal. Without these forces, life as we know it literally grinds to a halt. Plants use these sticky forces to pull water all the way from their deepest roots right up to their highest leaves. It's exactly how raindrops form in the sky. And human engineering completely relies on it too, from the way ink perfectly spreads onto a piece of paper to how the paint actually sticks to the walls in your house.
Okay, let's head into Section 3, water working in nature.
Have you ever seen one of those water strider insects just literally walking across a pond without sinking? That is cohesion at work. The water molecules hold onto each other so tightly they create a surface tension strong enough to actually support the bug's weight. On the flip side, adhesion allows water to totally defy gravity, climbing right up a thin glass tube or soaking instantly into a paper towel the second you spill your drink.
That brings us to Section 4, everyday adhesion and cohesion.
We can actually see a tug-of-war between these two forces all the time. Think about a lotus leaf, or even a freshly waxed car. The water forms into perfect little rounded beads because cohesion beats adhesion. The water is way more attracted to itself than it is to the waxy surface. But if you look at completely clean glass, adhesion wins the tug-of-war. The water's attraction to the glass is much stronger than its attraction to itself, so it just spreads out completely flat.
You know, you can actually test this out yourself at home with a really fun little experiment called the droplet race. If you grab a piece of wax paper and place 2 small water droplets on it, you will see cohesion aggressively pulling those 2 drops together until they snap into one big super drop. And because there is almost zero adhesion to that wax paper, the combined droplet will race across the surface way, way faster than the small ones ever could.
All right, moving to Section 5, lesson review and homework.
Looking at the actual homework questions assigned in this course, it is super easy to see how that tiny magnet analogy pays off. We know cohesion is water sticking to water, like our friend the water strider insect.
We know adhesion is water sticking to other things, like a paper towel. And we know the whole shebang is driven by water being a polar molecule with opposite electrical charges. Honestly, you would absolutely ace this quiz right now.
And finally, we arrive at Section 6, Morality, Education, and Peace.
Here's where the source material does something really fascinating. It zooms back out from the physical laws of nature to spiritual laws, bringing in Romans 8:6-7. The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the spirit is life and peace. The curriculum argues that just as intelligent, perfectly balanced physical laws bring perfect order to water molecules, spiritual laws provide the ultimate blueprint for human thriving and peace of mind.
And this really brings us to the core of the heroesmartacademy philosophy being discussed here. The idea that education absolutely must be intertwined with morality. Their curricular poses a pretty tough rhetorical question. What is the point of being incredibly smart and knowing everything there is to know about polar molecules if you lack the moral framework to make good life choices? In this view, combining academic brilliance with spiritual grounding is the true path to peace.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, the curriculum leaves its students with one final, deeply provocative question. If God designed water with such perfect physical rules to sustain life, how much more will His moral rules sustain yours? It is a pretty striking way to connect microscopic science directly to human purpose. Thank you so much for exploring this awesome topic with me today. Stay curious, keep learning, and I will see you in the next explainer.